Okay, we've got a question now from Daniel. Where is Daniel? Hi, Daniel.
Hi, Andy.
Yeah, you've been here before, the pair of you.
Yeah, cheese butter twins. Yes. Until it becomes illegal.
So you're the comedy twins that come to my show.
Something like that.
Yeah, what's your question? Who's asking it this time? Okay.
So should writers stay in their lanes?
Should they stay in their lanes? Okay, this was to do with an article, not an article, it was an interview. No, it wasn't even an interview. It was a talk that Salman Rushdie was given. Salman Rushdie is the great novelist who wrote Midnight's Children, Shalimar the Clown, many novels, all of which I've read and adore. He is saying that he's worried about young writers being too uncertain to write about things that they've not directly experienced. It's going back to the old cultural appropriation debate, isn't it? It's saying that, there's a lot of activists who say that writers shouldn't write about identity groups that they're not part of themselves. And the publishing industry has what they call sensitivity readers to check that if you've written about someone who isn't. So if you wrote a novel about a black lesbian, Nick, they would say, well, you're not.
A second novel.
A second novel about a black lesbian.
The first one was a bestseller here.
It was a wonderful piece of work. But nowadays, you'd get a sensitivity reader looking at it, wouldn't you?
Yeah, so this is complicated. Well, firstly, it's Salman Rushdie saying it. Now, you could be forgiven for, if Salman Rushdie said to you, be a bit more brave with your writing, you could be forgiven for going, I'm not sure, given how it went for you, hounded for years, then stabbed. You're like, I'm not sure if I want to be a part of that. But the other point he was making is completely valid, which is, if you can't write outside of your lived experience, then it's over for the novel. Because it's about inhabiting other experiences. The only novel left would be the Bildungsroman, Andrew, just to throw in a literary reference.
Very good.
That's a German thing. It means education novel. It means coming-of-age novel about yourself. So the only thing you could write
is autobiography.
Exactly.
Basically, and that is a problem, isn't it? And Salman Rushdie, he has been through it, and he knows what he's talking about here, about being brave as a writer. There's not many writers who are more brave, I would suggest.
That's true. And the point that he's making about, oh, no, feel free to write about something that you're not, is hardly brave in comparison to his level of bravery.
Yeah.
He's basically saying, like, oh, you could also write about a gay character if you're not gay. Whereas what he's done and been through is a very different story. Yes, there'll be no science fiction.
No.
It's an entire genre based on things that don't actually exist. You can't have lived experience of being a robot.
Now, this comes from the idea of causing...
Sorry, carry on.
This comes
Vote
from,
Labour for
it comes from the idea of causing offence, right? So people would say, well, you can write about aliens because aliens don't exist and therefore you're not going to offend them. But if you write about gay people and you're not gay, then you might cause offence to those people. But I also think, who cares?
Yeah.
I just don't care. If someone offends me, it's fine.
But you also might not cause offence.
Right, yeah.
And if you do cause offence, then people should say, that's offensive, and have a discussion and an argument about that.
And that's fine.
Exactly, yeah. So I've totally, I agree with Salman Rushdie. Oh, wow, look how good I am.
Yeah.
He knows way more about this than I do. But if you can't go outside your lane, then you will lose a lot of creativity, some of which might make some errors, and people with a lived experience can go, well, I tell you what was wrong with that. But you would miss out on so much that was created.
Well, exactly. Writers do generally do their research anyway. If they're writing about people or groups or places that they haven't been to, they check to see first whether it's authentic. And I think actually an editor or someone reading it and saying, oh, that doesn't strike me as authentic, that's a legitimate criticism and something that a good writer will take on board. But someone saying, I find that offensive, therefore you must remove it from your book, that I think is abominable.
It's moronic, but there's obviously a philistinism at the heart of the woke movement, or whatever you want to call it. It's anti-art, it's all about activism, it's inherently anti-art. The only positive I can find is that the novel's basically over anyway, because no one can read past about 2 tweets and then they lose it. TikTok has ruined people's brains anyway. So who's writing?
You're not right.
The novel. I love the novel as well, but who is writing sort of significant novels? Michel Houellebecq is still around. He's probably the most. J.M. Coetzee, but who else is there really?
Kazuo Ishiguro.
Rushdie, yes.
There's not many. You're right.
Not many because it's not a significant art form anymore. And people have talked about the death of the novel for years and years.
Yeah.
But now, does it seem relevant anymore?
Well, my thing, if I'm reading if I want to read a novel, I always choose a novel that was published before I was born, and that guarantees a certain degree of quality.
Yes.
It is a way to do it, honestly.
Because you poisoned the novel when you were born. What you mean? Because it's old, so it's going to be good.
Because it's old, so it's going to be good. And I do mean that. I think that's a really good tip, because the writing used to be better.
It won't be long until you're not allowed to do a tweet unless it's your lived experience.
Yeah, well...
Which is going to be a slippery slope for a lot of people.
Very much so. OK.